Now I've got a new vise to review for you today, and I've been pretty excited about this one. Some of you might recall that a couple years ago we reviewed a Nirvana Rotary Vise. And it was a pretty solid vise. I gave it some marks somewhere between the Griffin Odyssey Spider and the Peak Rotary, both in functionality and cost. But there were two aspects of the first version of this thing that I didn't particularly like. It did have a lot of pros, but I did think it had two cons. And the first thing was that the post was both threaded and had a bolt, and it just didn't feel that solid to me. And the second thing for a pedestal vise, it was generally kind of lightweight. Now they address both of these things in this new version 2 of this vise. First, the post, it's solid, it's not threaded at all. You fix it in here with this clamp or this bolt, and I really like this bolt. It's got holes in it. I'm not sure if you can see it, but you can just put an Allen wrench right in there and then open or close it. And I know this is not an adjustment you make very often, but if you travel with this thing, you might loosen it, pull the stem out and pack it up and go. So that's really, a small thing, but it's a pretty nice touch. And the second thing is, this thing is a lot heavier. The first version on the pedestal was 1 pound, 14 ounces. This one comes in at 2 pounds and 14 ounces. So it's a good pound heavier. And if that doesn't sound like a lot, it's over a 50% increase in weight, and it does make a big difference. Okay, now real quickly, let's go through the 4 things that I look at when I'm deciding if I want to recommend a vise or not. First, how well does it hold a hook? Second, what's it made out of? How easy is it to set up and use? And then finally, the cost. So, how well does this one hold a hook? Very well, no issues here. Pretty much the same as the first one. It's got the bolt and cam system, kind of like a Griffin Odyssey Spider. So you open up the cam, and then you tighten or loosen this bolt right here until you get a hook in there. Just get a little bit of purchase on it. Not tight, that hook can move up and down right there, but then you lock this clamp. Now that hook is not going to move at all. So easy to get a hook in there. One thing I do like, and I will mention about this, these jaws get pretty small. I mean, you can easily hold a 22, 24 hook in here if you can tie on that small. And the Peak claims to do that, but I've tried to tie down to a 20 and smaller in the Peak, and it's just really hard. This one wouldn't be hard at all. And you can fit a pretty big hook in here. I put a 1/0 in here. I never tie that big, but it'll hold it just fine. Okay, next thing, what's it made out of? Well, except for the steel jaws, pretty much everything on here is aluminum. And then you got one piece of plastic right here at the end of the bobbin cradle. But yeah, everything else, it's pretty high grade, high quality aluminum. The base, I really like this. This is a painted black aluminum. It's got 3 little indentions where you can put some hooks and beads and whatnot. And, 4 rubber feet on the bottom. But I think it's just a lot bigger. I think the extra pound they added to this thing pretty much all came in this aluminum base. Everything else, very similar to the last one. Okay, how easy is this thing to set up and use? Well, it came in a nice packaged box right here. No frills really, it does have a little picture on it, but very, very well packaged. You got styrofoam in here with the cutouts, so it just arrived in perfect shape. Very nice packaging, and setup was simple. Really only 2 things to it. You had the post and the vise itself were already together. You just had to put them in the pedestal, put that bolt in, and then put the bobbin cradle on. So setup, super easy. Now to actually use this thing, also pretty easy. There's really only one adjustment you're going to want to make. It is this angle right here. So you've got the jaws, they're at a 90-degree angle. If you can see that, that's not adjustable. It's this bolt right here that's adjustable, and that's what you're going to want to adjust if you're going to use this thing as a rotary. So let me show you how we do this real quick. Move the bobbin cradle out of the way. You've got another bolt right here with holes in it. So this is pretty ingenious. I really like this. You put your, any Allen key or anything in there, and then you just loosen it right there. So that's loose. Now this thing's kind of, freely moving. You'll put the hook you want in there, and your goal will be to get the hook shank in line with the axis of rotation. And when you get that, you just tighten this back up. Now again, this is not an adjustment you have to make all that often, unless you're changing the size of the hook. You're tying, using it as a rotary and changing the hook a lot. So I typically don't even use the rotary function. I do like having it on here, but I'm not having to adjust that bolt and move this thing up and down all that often. But it's pretty easy to do when you need to. Now, for using it, I like to check out and just see, can I use this thing in one hand? So I've got my scissors or thread and bobbin holder right here. Can I use this and tie with one hand? Well, yeah, really you can. You've only got one bolt right here on this side of the barrel. You loosen that up and this thing spins very easily. Just a quarter turn right there to tighten it. This is probably how I tie with it, where it's easy to move, but it's still going to stay. So you can just kind of, you tie your fly, you flip it over, look at the other side, or tie on the other side, that's fine. And then maybe not even another quarter of a turn if you want to really lock it in. So now this thing is locked, not moving very easily at all, but you can also just do all of this with one hand right here. So ease of use, yeah, holds the hook well and it's pretty easy to use. So the last thing I want to hit on, it's the cost. Right now, December 2023, you can get this thing for moonlit fly fishing for about $150. And let's compare that to the competition. I just looked online, the Peak Rotary Vise is pretty much $210 anywhere you look right now. Now the Griffin Odyssey Spider is anywhere from $120 to $190, depending on if you want it with a C-clamp or a pedestal. So for an apples to apples comparison, both of those comparable vices are $50 to $60 more expensive than this thing. And really, I like this thing a lot better than the Odyssey Spider and almost as much as my Peak Rotary. Now I'm not going to dig on the Peak because that's a great vise too, but this thing is $60 cheaper and it will more easily hold a smaller hook. So yeah, it's a kind of a toss up there, but this thing might just be the better value. So do I recommend this thing? Yeah, I can definitely recommend this thing. If you're a new tyer and you're still tying on an introductory vise or maybe something that came with a kit, it's definitely an upgrade. Now it is a mid-level, it's solid vise. It's not a Renzetti or a Regal, but it's not trying to be, and it's also not $600. Okay, two last things and we'll wrap this up. I talked to Brandon Moon, who started Moonlit Fly Fishing. I asked him if I did a review of this vise, would he give y'all a deal on it? So he said, yeah, and he gave me a code for 10% off, which I'll put it in the description. Now I know 10% off, that's not a huge deal. It'll save you $15 on this vise, but you're helping out a pretty good dude who is out there hustling, starting a company, trying to help out our sport. Okay, and the last thing, let's give this vise away. It's middle of December, almost Christmas. This thing would be a great Christmas present. Today is Saturday, December 16th, 2023. I have to say this, let me get off track here on a side note. I have to say this year, 2023. If you're watching this video in 2028, the vise has already been given away. Do not leave me a comment trying to win this thing. Believe me, I did a review on the Peak 3 years ago, and I got people still leaving me comments trying to win that thing. And I say, dude, look at the year this thing was published. It's long gone. So, 2023, today, December 16th, that's when I'm publishing this. Next Wednesday will be December 20th. 2023. I'll go to the random comment picker, find somebody that uses the word Santa in their comment, and I'll pick a winner and get this vise in the mail to you. So that's it, my friends. I appreciate you watching. Hope you're having a happy holiday. I'll see you in a couple days.